Talking about Kung Fu, your first impression might be that's the first impression most of us have. And honestly, that includes many Chinese people too. We see Kung Fu as Chinese fighting, and officially we call it martial art. But here's the thing, martial art is really just the tip of the iceberg. Because Kung Fu is actually a deep philosophy, one that applies to every single skill. If you cook well, you have the cooking Kung Fu. If you dance well, you have the dancing Kung Fu. If you write beautifully, you have the calligraphy Kung Fu, and so on. So, what does Kung Fu actually mean? Hello viewers, here's Guangcheng speaking. Today we're gonna talk about what is Kung Fu. To understand the true meaning of Kung Fu, we're gonna start with the Chinese characters of Kung Fu. But don't be afraid, no matter you don't know nothing about Chinese or already a Chinese learner, I will try my best to explain it in a simple way.
Kung Fu is made up of two Chinese characters, Gong and Fu. To understand it better, we can divide the first character into two smaller parts. Let's take them one by one. This character is called Gong. It means tool or work. In Oracle bone script, the oldest Chinese characters, our ancestors created these symbols to express different meanings by drawing the things they saw or they think. It looked like this. And it just looked like a hammer. The ancestor created this character to express the meaning of a tool, work, or labor. Now let's look at the second part. Li. In Oracle bone script, it looks like a flexed arm with the muscles and tendons bulging as if someone is exerting force. Our ancestors used it to express the meaning of effort, power, or strength. When we combine these two together, work plus strength, they become the first character of Kung Fu, Gong. This character means the achievement or ability that someone gained or learned after work incredibly hard with a sustained effort. So we use it to express the idea of achievements, mastery, or ability, the kind you earn through hard work. Now the last character, Fu, it means an adult male, and in Oracle bone script, it looked like this. It almost looks like a farmer wearing a big bamboo hat, doesn't it? But here's where an Asian cultural practice comes in. In Asian China, when a boy reached the age of 20, he went through the coming age ceremony. He would tie his hair into a top knot and secure it with a long bean. And that horizontal line you see on the top of the character, that is the pin. It marked his transition into adulthood. He was now a man responsible for his family, community, and his country. So this character means an adult male, an responsible man. Now let's put them together. Gong, achievement, mastery, ability, Fu, an adult man. So what do you get?
Kung Fu refers to the mastery, the skill craft that a person works really hard for a long time, focusing on a single pursuit. For example, if a Chinese person tastes something really good, they might say, this chef has true Kung Fu. It means this chef cooks extremely well. We created this word to express and show respect for someone's mastery, especially the spirit of craftsmanship. And actually, a lot of things seem mysterious, even mystical. Chinese medicine, Bazi astrology, the craftsmanship of a Yixing teapot, at their core, they are just patterns. Patterns our ancestors discovered through long-term observation and relentless practice. And they call that pattern as Kung Fu. This is deeply rooted mindset in Chinese culture, finding answers in time. Western science relies on experiment, data, and a repeatable verification. But the ancient Chinese, in many cases, relied on Kung Fu. Over centuries of practice, people gave their whole lives to a single pursuit, observing, refining, until it became part of them. For instance, The herbal formulas of Chinese medicine, they were tasted over thousands of years until they knew the function of different herbs. The timeless elegance of Yixing Teapot, it comes from decades of craftsmanship, from the potter's daily devotion and the endless patting and shaping of every single detail. You can't always explain these things with the logic of modern science, but you can't deny that they work. Why? Because time itself is a form of beatification. If something has been passed down for thousands of years and hasn't been discarded, it must have captured some kind of truth. Even if our ancestors couldn't write down what exactly that was. And that kind of knowledge, experience, the kind forged by time, in my opinion, is exactly what AI couldn't make it. So hiding the word Kung Fu is actually a key to understand the Chinese culture. The best things are forged by time. And now you might be wondering, how did this philosophy evolve into the Chinese fighting, the martial art we know today?
In southern China, especially Guangdong and Hong Kong, martial arts were deeply woven into everyday life. Locals called practicing martial arts as training your Kung Fu. If someone was really good, let's say, he has got real Kung Fu. Here, the meaning of Kung Fu had already narrowed. It was no longer just a broad idea of mastery in any field. It had become a colloquial term, especially for martial skill. Learned from the late 19th century to the early 20th century, a wave of Chinese immigrants came to America, mostly from Guangdong. They brought their dialect, their customs, and their martial arts with them, and the phrase training Kung Fu is naturally became the first term that Westerners heard from Chinese martial arts. But the real turning point came in the 1970s. A young man who was born in the United States and grew up in Hong Kong stepped onto the world stage. His name was Bruce Lee. He brought his martial arts films to Hollywood like a lightning strike. On screen, he moved with blinding speed. Western audience had never seen anything like him. No special effects, no stunt doubles, just raw, real impact. But he did more than fight. Again and again in his English interviews, he kept describing his philosophy of Kung Fu. He said it with pride, and the world heard it. But here's the problem. The world saw his fists. They heard his iconic yeah. They watched him take on 10 opponents at once on screen. They remembered the word Kung Fu, but in their minds, it meant only one thing: the Chinese martial arts. The deeper meaning of Kung Fu, the kind of mastery that comes from focusing on one thing for years until it becomes second nature, was completely lost in transmission. From that moment on, the equation was locked into the global mind. Kung Fu equals Chinese fighting. Until nowadays, that's still how most people understand it.
And that's why I'm making this video. I want you fine people to truly understand what Kung Fu means, especially in this age of AI. If we want to remain irreplaceable, we need skills that the machine cannot easily replicate. And Kung Fu, the kind of deeply trained, bone-deep mastery, is something I believe exactly what AI will struggle to learn. And today, for all the fine people here, I hope you will find a field you truly love, something you can commit to day after day, year after year, not for cheap dopamine, but for the deep sense of fulfillment, enrichment. Through that practice, you will earn your own Kung Fu, one that you're truly proud of.